What's up, everybody? Back at the beginning of 2013, I made a few goofy New Year's resolutions. One of them was I wanted to get the remaining Sega CD and Sega Saturn games that I actually wanted for my collection. I have a list, I've made over the years of what I want, and luckily, most of the ones left on that list were fairly inexpensive and easier ones to find. I had purchased most of the games that are really expensive today back before they were so expensive, in some cases, sometimes even at half of the cost that they are now. So that made it a lot easier to, finish my collection. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I am not a completist collector, so no, I do not now own every single Sega CD and Sega Saturn game that has ever come out in America or whatever. I only buy games that I actually want for my collection I want to play. Now, there's a good chance that somewhere down the road I might, stumble across a game that I had originally said, nah, I don't want, and maybe I find it for $1 at a garage sale, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and keep it and hang on to it, and blah, blah, blah. So you might see some titles missing from my collection that are some of, like, the most, sought-after ones, or people are like, oh my god, why don't you have that? It's because maybe I'm not really into that style so much, but also, don't yell at me if, like, 5 months from now I happen to show, like, a new, Sega Saturn game. I'm like, hey, I just picked this up, blah, blah, blah. So, I am done now with the games that I really wanted to get. These are, some of these had been on my list for, like, 10 years or so, which I'm just going to start off with Sega CD. You can see behind me, I have the row of Sega CD and Saturn games, but we're going to start off with Sega CD. I should mention before I get started that this isn't going to be a review of all these games or a price guide or anything. I'm just going to talk about whatever the fuck comes into my mind as I'm showing them, so it's going to be more based around my personal collection, where I got them from, that kind of thing. Like I mentioned, I got a lot of the harder-to-find ones back before the prices skyrocketed on them. We're talking between like 5 and 10 years ago. I picked these up, and I don't really remember paying more than like $40 or $50 a piece for most of them. A few of them I did pay more, but this was back before I have the job that I have now, and I wasn't able to spend quite as much money on games, so I had to be a little bit more thrifty, which meant, sometimes it took me a lot longer to actually get the game that I wanted. Like the first one I'm going to show, Shining Force CD, it took me quite a few tries on eBay to actually purchase this. I remember probably about, 5 to 8 auctions that I lost out on before I finally got a complete copy in good condition. This game collects Game Gear Shining Force games onto one disc, and it has definitely become even harder to find now, and the price has risen on it quite a bit. Next up is one of the many great Working Designs titles, and this one in particular is one of the not as expensive ones. They all have fantastic artwork. This is a "they" on it, by the way, but I really love the cover art for it, with the raised foil lettering, and Working Designs, like I always mention, put so much effort into their cases. I mean, there's the foil on every single side, even little side spines, and on the back. And this one, I believe, yeah, it comes with a map. Still have the styrofoam for this one, and they always have really nice artwork on the Working Designs discs as well. Very cool. Like I said, this one's not quite as expensive as some of the other ones. Here we have Magical Pop Full Mail, a fantasy adventure, and Working Designs also put, they literally put Working Designs Ultra Series Action RPG right on the case, so you knew what, you were getting. It wasn't like a mystery of, oh, what type? Is this an action RPG? Is this more of a strategy? It's right there on the fucking case for you. But this, again, has, very nice artwork, nice packaging job, and this one also has the styrofoam. That's not, obviously a huge deal, but it is nice, if you're a Sega Saturn or Sega CD collector and you open up a game that you find at a flea market, or, you get on eBay and it has that piece of styrofoam, you're like, oh, it just makes it seem more like a little bit newer, like maybe they didn't play the game as much. I mean, as I'm going through, I forgot to mention, as I'm showing all this stuff, feel free to leave in the comments, if you don't see a certain game here. Now, I know every single game that came out on CD, Sega CD and Saturn in North America, so you're not going to tell me one that I don't know about, but maybe one that I just sort of grazed over and was like, and I didn't pick it up. Maybe let me know, if you think I should, or what your favorite one is. I forgot to mention at the beginning, so I'll throw that in before I show every single fucking game now. Next up is the 2 Lunar games. We have Lunar Eternal Blue, and these two, I remember for a fact I bought them together. I bought both of these games together, and I want to say I got them for about $30 a piece. So that was awesome, and they were in fantastic shape. I remember when I got them, I couldn't believe like how well someone took care of, like the booklet and everything. There's that stupid piece of styrofoam. And Lunar Silver Story. Not as interesting of a case for the Silver Story. It doesn't have the shiny foil on it or like raised lettering or anything. A little bit bland in the sense of what Working Designs had done in the past. But, still an amazing game. The Lunar games have come out. These 2 games have come out on other systems as well. So if you don't own a Sega CD, say you own a PlayStation 1, obviously you have a chance to pick them up and play them there. Now, some of these games I actually got from other YouTubers. Back when I did my New Year's resolution video, I mentioned, the ones that I was looking for, and quite a few people contacted me. And in a really short period of time, I got quite a few from you guys. So again, thank you everyone that helped out on my completing the games I wanted for these systems. I remember this was one of them, Dungeon Explorer. And and I was also really happy and surprised that they were all like in really good condition and complete. I wasn't expecting quite a few of them to come from you guys. That were like, oh yeah, I happen to have those exact ones in really great condition. So that was another big surprise. So and also a few of them were gifts, so I didn't even pay anything for a few of these. So again, thank you again and again. I think this was, I can't remember if this was one I got from you guys or if it was one that I picked up by myself, but it's another one that came in the past year. Flink on Sega CD. Then we have the Earthworm Jim Special Edition, and this was a hard one to track down, and it wasn't as cheap. I don't know. I don't think, when I think Earthworm Jim, I don't think like, more expensive, harder to find game. This one was, a little more pricey, and that brings me to also a point that even the not hard to find Sega CD or Sega Saturn games technically aren't going to always be very cheap. A good solid like price to kind of put on most of them is like $20 would be your average, cheap price. Granted, yes, there are a few Sega CD games or Saturn games that are going to be less than that, but in general, if you're looking for like a like new or very good condition copy that's complete, you're probably going to at least spend $20, especially at least with shipping, to get them to you. In the sense of off eBay or Amazon. Now, obviously, you pay whatever the hell you pay at a garage sale or flea market, whatever, but I wanted, to get these games in as good of condition as I could. I don't buy sealed games, normally, that are obviously older, for older systems, but trying to get, a few of these I actually did buy sealed, which I'll get to that in a little bit, because the price, I happened to get a really good deal on a sealed copy, and the price wasn't, that different. Next up is Mansion of Hidden Souls. Now, this is one of the rare occurrences where, I'll find it when I'm up there in a second, when we get to the Saturn games. This game is on both the Sega CD and Sega Saturn. I own both because there's quite a bit of difference to the graphics to both games. I'm that type of collector where if a game released on a different system, and they changed, enough of it, like they did a big graphic overhaul, or they added a few new, areas or something like that. If it's different enough from the original release, I'll pick up both. If it's not very different, like if it's really minor tweaks, then I'll just own, one or the other, whichever one is, plays better or whatever. Next, the little next stack I'll grab. We got, I'll save that one for the end of this stack. Let's see. This is one I paid too much for, and that's a rare case. I wanted a copy of Android Assault, The Revenge of Bari Arm, and this game is pretty damn cool. I really like, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but I really like the box shots from the gameplay on it. I was like, wow, some of those, bad guys, enemies looked really cool, and I'm really into, like, if enemies or bad guys in certain games are just really well designed. That's one of my favorite things. So I was like, yeah, I really want to pick this game up. I think I paid like $45 for it, 40 or 45, $50, and I swear to God, you like 2 weeks after that, there was a copy on eBay for like $18 or something. So I paid too much for this. Luckily, it is in good shape. But yeah, that was one of the few times where I definitely overpaid for a game. Here we have Dungeon Master 2 Skull Keep, and this was another one I picked up off of a YouTuber. And again, just I was really surprised and happy with the condition. A little foam in there. Robo Aleste, another one that I would think would be more expensive. I mean, it has such a badass cover to it. And I know you just always can't base a game by its cover, obviously. But, you know, when they do a good job on the cover art, and it's an older title, I always think, oh man, that must be, you know, an amazing game or really harder to find. And it is a good game. It's pretty decent, but it's not as pricey as some of the other ones. And this one, though, is pricey as hell. This was one of the very few times where I bought a sealed game, an older game, and I don't collect sealed titles. And I've mentioned this in a few different videos that I bought this sealed and I opened it, and some people are like, "What the hell? You opened a sealed copy of this?" And it is KO Flying Squadron. And the whole story, which I'll make a really short version of, is I was looking for a copy of this. Some guy listed online that he was going to sell one for a friend. And he wrote this huge paragraph perfectly describing the condition of the game. It has a little, like, crack in the top plastic there. He mentioned that. Everything was well, you know, mentioned. And he basically just said, you know, I told my friend to look online and see how much his game was worth. And when he did, he was really surprised, and he said, hey, go ahead and sell it for me. I wasn't expecting to get it for about the price that it would go for opened. I think that they weren't calculating in their head that, you know, the fact that sealed would make it, you know, double the price or more. So I really lucked out on this one. And it is a bullet hell shooter, a really quirky one. But obviously it was sealed brand new, so it's like in perfect shape. So this was one of those, you know, rare occasions that I actually bought a sealed one. But a lot of people were pissed that I opened it. But I don't collect sealed games. I wanted to play it. I just happened to get a good deal on it. But we're talking like that one is... I haven't checked the price on it in a long time, but at least a few years ago, I remember checking and it was into the 200s, over $200. So here we have a very, very cheap one. Sylpheed. When I got my Sega CDX in the mail, I just picked that up. In case people don't know, I finally got my Sega CDX sitting down over there. When I got it in the mail, I was on tour, and I told Katie to test out a game in it, and I was trying to think, well, what's like the cheapest fucking game, one of the cheapest ones I have up there. I'm like, go ahead and grab this, because you know, just in case something weird happened, or she dropped the disc, or whatever, I wanted to make sure it was one that was really, really inexpensive. So this I actually got from Carlos. He had come to the flea market, and that one Video Game Sellers episode brought a bunch of crap. This was one of the games. A couple other ones I got fairly recently were Soul Star and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Eye of the Beholder. Fairly pretty decent first-person dungeon crawler RPG. And I'm going to try to... I want to do this all in one part, but I don't know. We'll have to see how long, because this is going a lot longer than I thought. So next is one that I actually got at a garage sale. One of the few times I got a Sega CD game at a garage sale. And this is Flashback, The Quest for Identity. I got this a few months ago. Frank had actually gone to the garage sale. My friend Frank. And he found like a big box full of CD games, Genesis. The guy had a ton of Game Boy games, just a bunch of stuff. And most of it was like, you know, who cared? But there were a few decent titles in there, and some I didn't own. So this was one of the ones I did not own. I think I got it for $5. And next is Wild Woody, one of those clever, like, pun names. You know, it makes you think of, like, a hard-on or something, but you play as a friggin' pencil. This is another one I bought brand new and sealed for around, like, 25 bucks, because an open copy wasn't that much cheaper. I think there were some in good condition around, like, 15, 18 bucks. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna buy one for 25, brand new. Here we have Dark Wizard, and I remember playing this game and not really enjoying it that much. Cover art's pretty sweet on it, and let's see, this one, no, this one didn't have like a map or anything, but Dark Wizard, I don't remember having too fond of memories of that one. Pugsy, this is another really, really cheap game on the Sega CD, a fun adventure game, but Pugsy also came out on other systems, and I want to say this is like a $15 game or so, at the most. I think I got mine for right around there, you know, what, it was about 4 or 5 months ago. This is another one that was on the remainder list. Like I said, there was a lot of games that were, I just hadn't picked up because I was like, oh, that game's like 10 bucks. I'll just wait for it to, you know, to maybe find it down the road, and I just never found it. So I finally went ahead and actually purchased it online. Ah! That's not cool. The game that just fell over is a rarer one. And then the last two American Sega CD games that I have, I believe, nope, I take that back, there's one more after this. Heimdall, and this was another YouTuber pickup, another RPG, and Shadow of the Beast 2, which I just showed in my last pickups video. I got this one very recently. This was actually the last game on my list that I scratched off, so that was awesome. And then there's this one, which is Soul Feast, another shoot 'em up. This is the only one that's in a case like this, because this was like in the original like bundle pack for Sega CD. But it is a shoot 'em up, and I love shoot 'em ups, so I wanted it. And it does even have its little manual inside there. But very, it's hard to, you know, it's like you have all these big box, you know, Sega CD and Saturn games that look all nice, and you have this little dinky Soul Feast case up there. It's not as nicely displayed as the other ones. So those are all my Sega CD games, and I just realized that this video is now over 17 minutes long, and if I was to do all the Saturn games in this video, it would probably go over 40 minutes. So I think I'm going to stop now, and I will just do a separate Saturn-only video then. That wasn't my original intention. I was going to do both Sega CD and Saturn in the same video, but I don't want it to be that long. So anyways, thank you for watching. Let me know again if there's a certain game you're like, you know, I can't believe you don't own that. You should check it out. Who knows, maybe you'll convince me to actually, you know, go do a second or a third look and, you know, see if I want to pick it up. Or if, like I said, if I happen to find it maybe at a garage sale or something really cheap. And let me know, you know, with some of the harder to find ones, if you're like a collector for the Sega CD, you know, did you get a really good deal on some of the harder to find ones, some of the RPGs? Did you ever find like an awesome bundle at a garage sale of Sega CD games or something like that? Let me know. Please thumbs up the video as always. You guys thumbs the hell out of, thumbs the hell? I'll go with it. You guys thumbed the hell out of that recent pickup video. I mean, over 300 thumbs up. That's awesome. So thank you guys very much. Do the same with this one. Stick your thumb way up this video. You know, just give it a double thumber. And I will see you all tomorrow, or either tomorrow or the next day for the Saturn collection. Peace.